Sometimes emotions speak louder than logic, and it depends on your brain type, which I've elaborated on before. But I've prepared something for you today at the suggestion of a viewer on how to stay motivated to overcome binging. Keep in mind, a lot of people reach out to me not because they're overweight or because they have some kind of health problem, but because they're struggling with compulsive eating. They may be overweight a little or a lot or not at all. They may be underweight, but they have a problem controlling themselves. So I have prepared, as it were, a mission statement, a motto of sorts, something motivational, almost like a poem that you can recite and recall for those of you who feel the need to do so. And I think it's important to remember these sorts of things. Target and eat cravings as opposed to food. Hate even the thought of caving in. Focus on the unity of having only one mission. For you, that mission is always to not eat when it is not your time to do so. Look for and stand strong in the rebirth. That is, every first thing you do after beating binging will feel like a new thing again. Hunger for the high of hunger high, of becoming yet more motivated to keep going the longer you go and time passes, to becoming more empowered to walk in the other direction from the sheeple who are around you. Know beforehand, and rejoice in the fact that you know beforehand, that you will choose to abstain or choose to dig in. So choose to remain faithful. I don't know what you want to call that. You want to call it tips, you can call it whatever you want. But for some people, they have found it pretty motivational. What I've put out there is the power to beat indecision. When you get up in the morning, and this is the biggest point, I guess, when you get up in the morning, you kind of know whether or not you're going to binge. Just like you know if you're not going to make it. If it's day 4 of a diet and you are about to cave, when you get up in the morning, if you're really honest with yourself, you know that you have opened the door for doubt to come in. And you have said, am I going to remain faithful today? The fact that you ask the question means that you have already committed the infidelity of unfaithfulness to your fasting plan. The fact that it wasn't time to eat and you decided that you were going to eat early, that's the same lack of motivation. And it's not really motivation, it's a form of betrayal. Look at it very negatively, because if you don't, then you won't see how serious it is. Put yourself in the place of finding someone special. When you see someone of the opposite sex, or as the case may be, the same sex, and you're attracted to them and they're attracted to you, is there not a moment of clarity as soon as you first meet them that says, I'm going to have sex with this person, or at least be willing to? Yes, there is. You know, when you look at someone, your brain makes a certain primal decision on what you are going to allow yourself to do. So when you get up in the morning, you if you're honest with yourself, admit it's your resolve that weakens in stages. And that goes back to having a lack of faith in the program. A lot of people go in and find this channel and find OMAD and think, well, maybe this isn't going to work for me. So they say things like, wish me luck, wish me the best, hopefully I'll succeed. The fact that you ask that means that you've already given up, because you made room for the possibility that you were going to fail, which of course means you'll fail. The strongest link or the weakest link in the chain that's only as strong as the chain can be. I messed that up, but you get what I'm saying. The chain is only as strong as its weakest link. That day will come when you will fail, but you entertained unfaithfulness because you didn't follow these rules. You didn't hate the thought of caving. When I lost my weight, I was angry. And that's the first thing you eat that you're feeding on when you go fasting. Number 1, you're feeding on anger. Number 2, you're feeding on endorphins, hunger high. Number 3, you're feeding on pride. The pride of not being a sheeple and being like everybody else who gets fat in a world where everybody's just going to get fat and die, apparently. Look at the news. Look at how much diabetes there is now, how much high blood pressure there is now, how much edema, peripheral edema, the people you see in the supermarket with their legs in stockings because their water is just running out. They have so much fluid. And sure enough, you see them eating, you see them in the checkout line with a whole bunch of candy. You see them in the checkout line with breaded junk. It's like that. But those are the things that they don't have. They don't operate out of anger, because your decision-making ability, as I've said before, is the ability to get angry and say, we're not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to be a fat ass. I'm not going to weigh 400. I'm not going to weigh 200, wherever you're starting at. Endorphins, realizing that the longer you go, you're going to have, it's going to get easier, it's going to get better, and you're going to start to optimize. You're going to feel better. Even if you feel absolutely miserable when you start. Pride, the pride in taking care of yourself, not being like a sheeple. And then the rebirth. I'm just alluding to the things I gave in this mission statement, as it were. The rebirth is that feeling when you go throughout your day and you've made the decision to commit to one meal a day. And you say to yourself, I know that Burger King, I binge there a whole lot, but I'm not going to do it today. So the next time you go back, you start to realize, hey, it's not a threat to me anymore. Here's this ding dong, here's this Twix bar, which I used to pig out on, but now it's in its proper place and I'm in my proper place. So there's everything you do, it's like the first time you do it. It's like the birds singing and the trees are especially lustrous. You go and the pride that you have, the rebirth, that feeling of magical rejuvenation, you know when you're going to succeed, just like you know when you've met the right person. Not always, but you know when you, like we said, whether or not you're going to be intimate with someone. There are certain things you just know. You be around the right person and you sense certain things. And it's absolutely magical. Well, that's the rebirth. You start to expect that. And then you top that off when you've lost weight. You go showing off your new body. You go showing off. I did that for a long time. I loved to just visit the old places when I used to be 360 and show everybody, and nobody could believe it was me. That's a rebirth. It's an experience that you can look forward to. And lastly, we're anger, endorphins, pride, rebirth, and finally fat. Of course, you're running off your fat. Those are the things that you are feeding on when you are successfully fasting. So again, you're eating your cravings as opposed to your food. You are hating even the thought of caving. So if you have this disposition when you're starting, you're going to succeed in all likelihood. If you say, the thought, oh, I'm hungry, oh, no, it's not going to happen. If you go and you see it and you swat it like a cockroach on your wall, you see a little bugger come up and be on the wall, you grab a shoe or something, and you go after it. You don't want to wait until it gets under the bed. If you have that same mentality with your cravings, with the desire to pig out, with the desire to go nuts, and it doesn't matter if you're a binger watching this channel or if you're just overweight and you're starting fasting. It really doesn't matter at all. Diet Bargs here. I shouldn't be drinking it. It's actually close to my meal time. I'm about to eat. But if you have that same devotion and that same quick reaction, you immediately strike down infidelity. Just like it's a moral wrong. You wouldn't rethink if you go into anaphylactic shock eating peanuts. You wouldn't say, well, am I going to eat peanuts today? No, you make a decision very quickly and decisively. I have a habit of snapping. That is... To call upon a little bit of emphasis here, that's exactly the reaction that you need to have. You do not entertain infidelity. You do not entertain weakness. You do not entertain whether or not you're going to go off your plan. You mentioned cheat days. Well, you plan those in advance. There's no impulse. I know perfectly well the feeling of getting up and going out and eating a huge Whataburger with fries and a shake, and then 4 hours later being hungry and being so ashamed of myself that I caved, and then that I was still hungry and still wanted to go out and buy a couple boxes of chicken and then maybe some candy to wash that down. I know how that feels, but unless you make the decision to stop it and you say, I'm no longer fueled by that, it is dead to me, just the thought is intolerable, do not even let it pass your mind. Unless you have that anger then you won't succeed unless you have that drive. You will always rethink your decisions to eat. And a lot of you do. You fail because you rethink your decisions to fast. You say, is this going to work for me? I don't know that it's going to work for me. Is it the right time? Should I wait till later? What if I don't like the way I look? You always second guess your goal. But remember, you have one mission. And the mission is you do not eat until your time, which is why the window, the eating window, matters so very much. If you say, I cannot eat until 5 through 8 p.m., and if you live that, you will never rethink it because it will just be something you do. And if you follow that rule, you'll be faithful. People, and I know it's hard, shift workers, those of you who are shift workers, some days you have to just suck down one thing because you don't have the time in your window. Even the purpose of the window is to keep your meal, whether it's earlier or later, within a spot to where your body can get the same 23-hour fast. Since I started this channel, that's why I've talked about. Some people got confused about the window. That's why the window exists. If you ate at 9 p.m. one day, you don't eat at 11 a.m. the next day. You wait for the full benefit of the fast and you do it right to the clock. You don't eat at 4:59 if 5 p.m. opens your mealtime. You get the idea. You don't do that because otherwise you're going to shortchange your fast, and every time you fail, it becomes easier to continue to fail. Remember, this is an urgent issue. This is urgency because it involves self-evaluation. What are you feeding on? Anger, endorphins, pride, the feeling of rebirth, the knowledge of rebirth, really, and fat. Of course, you want to eat on you. If the meal's on you, why don't you eat you? Why do you need to go out there? And of course, anytime you go out and you think about why you want to eat, you never can think of a good reason to eat, but it doesn't motivate you anymore, does it? It doesn't stop you because you've already made the decision to fail. You did it when you got up or when the day changed or something happened where you lost the right frame of mind. You lost the mission, which is what this video has been about. So a little bit of a rant, but I hope it's been helpful.